Hello and welcome to Wise Women Speak, an audio series for women to find their own voice and to express their creativity in the world. My name is Liz Scott, and I'm an author and a coach with a passion for well-being and listening in communities.
I'm Dorothy and I'm also an author and a coach, and I'm passionate about helping people get their dreams out of their heads and into their lives.
So today we're talking about self-worth, your self-worth. And I guess the opening gambit has got to be, well, what do we mean by self-worth? And I will all have different probably versions of this, Dorothy, but let me hear from you. What for self-worth, what does it mean for you?
Self-worth, valuing yourself, not seeing yourself as being below anyone, knowing that you're worthy to receive everything that you dream of in your life, and you're worthy to be treated with respect and consideration and even adoration and appreciation.
So valuing self, valuing yourself, I suppose, and also feeling that sense of being worthy and that your contribution is valued in what you bring. And I suppose one of the things I've noticed in a lot of the work I do in community is at a community level, and I really see something that keeps popping into my consciousness, and that is about women who are doing extraordinary jobs, often volunteering or very low paid work in our communities, but often are not really acknowledged or valued for that. And I often see this, Dorothy, that women see a need and they step in to fill that need, but they don't do it with great fanfare. They just do it because it needs to be done. And I just notice when I look around that there are so many parts of our society and community which traditionally are things that are taken up by women, like raising children or bringing up healthy, happy children, or being the ones that maybe put their career on hold so that they can look after and care for people or care for elderly parents, or maybe they're the ones that just, they focus their attention on the home and making the home a really nourishing, great space. But they're never really, I think I'm guilty as well of this. I don't know that I really acknowledge or value that so much in others. And I don't know that I really acknowledge or value some of that in myself. So I guess for me, that's what I mean by self-worth. It's really acknowledging the value that we bring, even though we might not traditionally see that as a really valuable contribution that we're making.
Well, Liz, I think a lot of what it comes down to is the money associated with our actions. So if we do something in the world, so to speak, and we are acknowledged in the form of making money from it, those are often the things that are given the most value, and that people with a lot of money or making a lot of money are seen in society's eyes as valuable and valued, and that the money shows that the position is valuable. But if we stripped away the dollars, so to speak, or the pounds, and looked at who's really raising these kids, who's really keeping these households going, who is in a support position, and who's even in a leadership position, I think that the value is intrinsic, so to speak.
And
I'm
in a
not sure
way,
what you hear of
yeah,
that.
I was saying in a way, what you're pointing to there, and I'm very curious about this as well, is we talk about community. And I suppose if you rewind the clock to communities before technology and the infrastructure and the transport and everything that we know now, so communities were tight knit, and they really relied on each other. In community like that, those areas that you're talking about, raising children, keeping keeping people feeling healthy and happy and well fed, and those things which nowadays we look for the monetary value because that's where we see the worth is. But back in those days, there wasn't that same emphasis on money. I mean, maybe I'm just rose-tinted spectacles here, Dorothy, but I wonder if in eras gone by or in days gone by, the value of what women brought to a community was seen for what they are, which is it's almost like the fabric, the network, the web that holds communities together. It's like I saw a program once, and I might get this all muddled up, but we see fungi like mushrooms popping up. Well, there's a whole web underneath the surface. Like the mushrooms get all the sort of credibility of being amazing, but there's underneath the surface, there's this network of fungi that's underneath the ground. It's all connected, and it's that connection, that connected network under the ground, which enables everything else to live and survive and to decompose and to collect water. And but it's not seen, so it's not valued. Oh gosh, I've really gone off on one there, haven't I?
Oh, I love what you're saying, and what comes to me is a much earlier time, or in indigenous communities that are still intact, that the mother energy was valued and understood as being the inseparable counterpart to the male, and that you could only have balance between them. They have some indigenous communities or First Nations peoples here in the US, they have Father Sky and Mother Earth, and you can't really have Mother Earth without Father Sky, and vice versa. So there's this understanding of the yin and the yang, the balance between. And I think when a society gets hyper masculinized, if that's even a word, or we're under a patriarchal system, which we have been now for a couple of thousand years, I believe, around 2000 years, that the patriarchal system, if it's out of balance and not honoring the contribution and the vitality and that's provided in the force of the mother, the creator, the bringing forth of life, things just get very out of balance, and the feminine aspect is not appreciated. So it looks to me like it's actually on us as women to first come back to our own selves, to first begin to acknowledge and see the value that we have within ourselves, and to understand how fundamental we are to a thriving, balanced community wherever we are on the planet. And that without us, and without our contribution, and without us standing in our alignment and using our voices, there's no balance in those kind of ecosystems.
Yeah, beautifully put. And there's a couple of things I want to say there, and that's it goes back to this. We've talked about this before, about this deeper listening, this listening within. So when we're talking about really valuing our own self-worth, which is what this is all about, this episode, we're not talking about excuse me, we're not talking about valuing the self-worth of the individual, the personality, the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves. We're really looking at the energy behind life itself. It's realizing we are the breath of life itself, and that is being expressed through us. And it's, when we talk about self-worth, it's about acknowledging that we are here for that to be expressed through us. It's much more than just us all as little individuals trying to be heard in the world. It's almost like we are musical instruments that are being played, and whatever music comes from us is the music we're meant to bring into this world. And that's what self-worth is about. It's not comparing I don't know, drums to a flute, or a triangle to a trombone. That's the wrong comparison. It's knowing that we are all contributing to a harmony, something greater than ourselves. And that was the other bit I wanted to say, is that in the same way that in music we have, and you talk about balance, we have harmonies that balance out, or if we're looking at orchestras, we have different musical parts that balance each other out and complement each other. That's what we're talking about here with self-worth. To use this term, the energy of women, so that the balance of the female and the male energy is like, this is how we bring harmony, like musical harmony, to the world, is through the expression of both, because they both complement each other.
Well, and that picture that you're painting, we just went to the symphony last weekend, and we had balcony seats, and I haven't sat up in a balcony for such a long time, Liz, and it was fantastic, actually, looking down on this whole orchestra. And my son and I counted 23 violins.
Wow.
And right. And you might think, why do you need all of those violins? And we were really watching, and they were playing, some of them were playing the same parts, and some of them were playing harmonic parts. And it was incredible to just watch them playing off of each other, almost like a conversation. One goes and then the other goes, and then they go together, but they're hitting different notes. And it points again to how important it is for each one to be in the entire symphony, in the ensemble. So thank you for that visual.
No, I love that. And I'm just bringing to mind all those violinists as you speak there. That's a beautiful story to tell. So yeah, today we've been talking about self-worth, your self-worth, really valuing yourself, looking within, seeing that you are worthy. You're much more than your character and personality. You are the energy behind life itself.